Have you ever shouted "I love you" with all your actions, only to be met with a distant silence? Do you feel exhausted, giving your all without being understood, like you're screaming your love into an empty room? I was right there, in a small kitchen in Denmark, feeling my heart was about to shatter. But then I discovered a secret that changed everything. We weren't loving wrong, we were just speaking different languages. This journey from misunderstanding to true connection starts right now. The misunderstanding. Imagine you spent the whole afternoon preparing a special dinner. You cooked the best dishes, lit candles, and set everything up perfectly. In your heart, it wasn't just a meal. It was a love song in action. You eagerly waited for their reaction. A hug, a compliment, a radiant smile. But instead, they just nodded, said, "Thank you" politely, and after the meal they stood up and started washing the dishes. They buried their head in the sink, scrubbing each plate meticulously, and you sat there with the candle flickering out, feeling your heart shatter. Your romantic dinner had turned into a mundane chore. That is exactly what happened to me in Copenhagen. Me, someone who always expresses love through words and thoughtful gestures, was married to a typical Danish man. Practical, quiet, and action-oriented. I felt myself becoming invisible. Every time I asked, "Do you love me?" and got a short "of course" in return, I felt a distance growing. I was trying to communicate in my own love language, but it seemed I was the only one in that conversation. I started to wonder if I was loving a wall, and worse, if I was doing something wrong. The truth is, we often get stuck in this loop. We love others the way we want to be loved, not the way they actually need to be. It's like trying to charge an iPhone with a USB-C cable. No matter how hard you try, the connection just doesn't happen. Our brains are wired to understand love in a specific pattern, and when the signals don't match, your nervous system screams that you're being rejected. But in reality, you might just be using the wrong type of cable. The discovery. You know that feeling when you're trying to solve a puzzle, and you've been staring at the pieces for so long, they just look like a meaningless jumble of colors? Then someone walks by, points at one piece, and suddenly the whole picture clicks into place. That was me. One rainy Tuesday in a Danish library, surrounded by books I couldn't fully understand. I was actually there to find a simple English novel to practice my reading, feeling a bit defeated by the language and, if I'm honest, by my marriage. My eyes skimmed the shelves, and a title in the psychology section, written in simple English, practically jumped out at me. The 5 Love Languages. It sounded almost too simple, maybe even a little silly. But desperation makes you open to strange solutions. I picked it up, found a corner, and started reading. The core idea was so elegantly simple it was almost insulting. Everyone has a primary way they give and receive love. The book claimed there are 5 words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. As I read the descriptions, it wasn't just a theory anymore. It was a flashbulb going off in my dark, confused heart. It was the missing piece of the puzzle, not just for my marriage, but for my entire struggle to connect in this new country. It was the grammatical rule I never knew, the one that could finally make sense of all the confusing sentences my husband and I were speaking to each other. My brain, craving patterns and order, latched onto this framework like a life raft. This wasn't just about love. It was about fundamental human communication. And for someone struggling to learn a new language, the concept of miscommunication felt painfully, beautifully familiar. My love language. Let's play a quick game. Think about the nicest thing someone could do for you right now. Got it? That single thought is a huge clue to your love language. For me, it was always crystal clear. I am a words of affirmation person through and through. A simple "I'm proud of you" or "you look beautiful today" can fuel my soul for a week. I thought this was universal. I thought everyone felt loved through verbal encouragement. So, naturally, I showered my Danish husband with compliments. I left him little notes. I constantly verbalized my love and appreciation, and I was silently keeping score. Why wasn't he doing the same for me? My brain, in its beautiful but flawed simplicity, had created a direct equation. If he loved me, he would express it my way. The lack of words felt like a void, and my mind, a master at pattern recognition, started collecting evidence of his indifference. Every uncomplimented meal, every unwritten note, was another data point proving my theory. I was speaking my love language fluently, but I was having a monologue, not a dialogue. It's like when you're learning a language and you only know how to say hello and thank you. You keep saying them louder and slower, hoping the other person will understand, not realizing you need to learn an entirely new set of words. I was saying hello to his tack, thank you, and we were both confused why the conversation wasn't going anywhere. My love was sincere, but it was trapped in a dialect he couldn't decode. His love language. So, I started to become a detective in my own marriage. I stopped listening for what he wasn't saying and started observing what he was doing. And the evidence was everywhere, hiding in plain sight. The love letters weren't on paper. They were written in his daily actions. His primary love language was acts of service. That meticulously organized toolbox in the garage? That was a sonnet. The way he would silently get up and refill my coffee without me asking? That was a love letter. The fact that he spent his entire Saturday fixing a leaky faucet I'd merely complained about once? That was his version of shouting "I love you" from the rooftops. I had been so busy waiting for poetic words that I was completely blind to the poetry of his actions. My brain had been filtering out these signals because they didn't match my predefined love frequency. It was a profound cognitive shift. In Denmark, there's a cultural emphasis on practicality and hygge, creating a warm, comfortable atmosphere. His love was deeply intertwined with this. He was building a stable, functional, and cozy life for us piece by practical piece. He was speaking his native tongue of love, and I, who only understood my own, had mistaken his quiet dedication for emotional distance. He wasn't a wall. He was a different kind of garden, one that didn't need constant watering with words but thrived on the steady, silent work of tending to the soil. The first try. Understanding the theory is one thing. Putting it into practice is a whole different battle. It felt awkward, like using a muscle I never knew I had. My first attempt was on a Thursday. I decided to speak his language, acts of service. I noticed his bicycle chain was squeaky. Instead of telling him, I went online, found a Danish tutorial, and with my limited vocabulary, learned how to clean and oil a bike chain. Took me an hour. My hands were dirty and I felt ridiculous. My brain was screaming, "This is pointless. Why can't I just give him a compliment and be done with it?" It felt inefficient, like taking a detour when you know a faster route. But I persisted. When he came home, I didn't say a word. I just pointed to the bike. He looked at it, then at me, then back at the bike. And then something small but incredible happened. His entire face softened. Not a big smile, but a deep, genuine look of appreciation. He didn't say "I love you" either. He just said in Danish, "Tak skat." Thanks, honey. And in that moment I finally understood. It wasn't about the bike chain. It was about the effort. It was about me saying in a language he could finally understand, "I see you. I hear you. And I care about what matters to you." For the first time I had successfully sent a signal on his frequency, and he had received it loud and clear. Seeing the difference. That small tak skat was a crack in the dam. It wasn't an explosion of romance, but a subtle, powerful shift in the atmosphere of our home. The real surprise came a few days later. I was washing dishes, lost in thought, when I felt his presence behind me. He didn't say anything. He simply took the tea towel and started quietly drying the plates I had just washed. We stood there in silence for 10 minutes, working side by side in a comfortable new rhythm. It was his love letter, written in steam and porcelain. Later that week, I came home to find a single beautiful flower in a small vase on my desk. No note, just a flower. My words of affirmation brain lit up like a Christmas tree. It was a tiny act, but it felt monumental. He was making an effort to speak my language. This is the beautiful neuroscience of relationships. Neuroplasticity. Our brains can rewire. When we consistently receive positive reinforcement for a new behavior, like his appreciative look for the bike chain, it creates new neural pathways. We were, quite literally, learning each other's emotional vocabulary. The cold distance began to thaw, replaced by a warm, mutual understanding. We were no longer two people shouting in different languages. We were slowly, patiently becoming bilingual in love. A new rhythm. We didn't become perfect overnight. It was more like learning to dance a new intricate dance. Some days we stepped on each other's toes. I'd forget and crave a verbal compliment, and he'd retreat into silent practicality. But now we had a shared map to navigate those moments. I could gently say, "My words of affirmation tank is feeling empty," and he would understand it wasn't an attack, but a request for connection. He, in turn, would point out a small task, and I'd understand it was his way of asking to be seen and appreciated. We created a bilingual relationship. Our home became a place where a freshly repaired shelf held as much weight as a heartfelt, "I love you." Where a warm cup of tea made exactly how I liked it was his poetry, and my verbal gratitude was his reward. This rhythm, this beautiful practical hygge of the heart, became our new normal. It was no longer about keeping score or speaking the right language. It was about building a bridge between our two emotional worlds and meeting in the middle. This is the ultimate hack for any relationship, whether with a partner, a friend, or even yourself. Stop assuming everyone speaks your emotional dialect. Become a student of their heart's native language. The effort to learn it is, in itself, the most profound declaration of love you can ever make. The bridge. This journey taught me something far bigger than marriage. It taught me that every meaningful connection in life is a bridge between two different emotional languages. Learning to speak my husband's love language was exactly like learning Danish. It started with awkward phrases, clumsy mistakes, and moments of pure frustration. But each small effort, each tack understood, Each need met was like learning a new word. It built fluency not just in love but in empathy. The real secret isn't finding someone who speaks your language perfectly from day one. It's finding someone willing to be patient while you learn theirs, and who is brave enough to try learning yours in return. True connection happens in the translation. So I ask you this: whose heart are you trying to reach? And more importantly, are you speaking a language they can understand? Because love isn't about shouting louder in your own tongue. It's about learning to whisper in theirs. That is the bridge. And it's a bridge worth building.